Hi, loves. Welcome to spring. Welcome to this transitional time, this new season in the Northern Hemisphere from the depths of winter, the darker days, longer nights, into a lengthening and emergence, where the land, the animals, and we are all waking up slowly, yet at our own pace. My name is Rachael Amber. I am a visual artist, an eco-spiritualist, and I'm here today to share some channeled wisdom from the Embodied Ecosystems Tarot Oracle deck and all the elements, sentients, guides, and ancestors that are here assisting as well. This season is part of a larger cycle. This is not just a singular day, an immediate change, but equinox is more of an entering through the threshold into this whole season, these next few months. And so even though this is being shared after the spring equinox, this reading is for this whole season from March 20th through June 20th or 21st, whenever the summer solstice is. And it's always relevant to review, reflect back on. So know that whenever you're finding this, you're welcome here. And I invite you to just sit with what I offer, knowing that you can leave whatever doesn't resonate, take what does, and know that this is all just one interpretation. I'm just one channel, one lens. And so to begin, this is what I pulled for us this spring. We have quite a bit of air awareness, purples and cool tones, acknowledging that we are still emerging from winter. There's still snow on the ground here where I am. There's still perhaps some fatigue. And so right off the bat, before I even go into the individual cards, just noticing the colors, the shapes, the clouds, and how this may reflect a reminder that throughout this time, this transitional season where it begins very cold still, depending on where you live, where the days are still shorter, knowing that it's okay to still feel inward. It's important to always allow space for that. And so during the excitement of spring, this emergence into summer, know that you still get to choose your pace. And then we have some fire at the bottom, but let's get into the individual cards and then we'll connect them. So first at the top here, I pulled a card for our core vital ally and guide during this season. And the Teacher of Awareness is our guide. The Queen of Swords is our most important ally this season. She invites us into discernment, into holding space for yourself and one another, into emotional intelligence, into allowing our feelings to be part of that, to know that they are valid, yet they are not the whole truth. And we are invited into connection and communication through all our senses. Something that the Queen of Swords, the Teacher of Awareness, is reminding me in this season is that it's okay to pause and ask for space when communicating, because the Queen of Swords asks us for clarity and discernment in our communication, our choices, and that's not always immediate, and that's okay. It's okay to need more space, more time, and we can communicate this. We don't need perfect clarity. We don't need all the details always. And at the same time, it's okay to pause and be honest about what we need. The Teacher of Awareness also invites us to practice holding multitudes, multiples, contradictions, paradoxes, and also the grief of everything happening in the world, in our personal lives, the grief of emerging from the comfort of the earth's womb in the winter. There's a sort of feeling of overwhelm and separation that's being asked to be tended to here. And so even with the sharp wit and mentality of this archetype, we're also allowed to have softness for the teachers. The queens are water, and our relationality, our emotions, and the suit of awareness is our communication, our connection, our intellect, and consciousness. And so the embodied invitation here is to Take some breaths before responding. Let yourself write or journal or find forms of release of whatever you're experiencing so that you can process. And using and being with your voice, your authentic voice, practicing in little ways with people you know or with strangers, aloud, in a voice note to yourself. Any sort of practices that help you warm up your voice and connect to it. Humming, sounding, breathing. And to support this ally and this season and what's here for us, what we're invited to untangle from or let go of bit by bit is the 6 of Swords, the guidance of awareness. And to me, this is saying, inviting us into not becoming overly dependent on the opinions or expectations of others, how we're processing something, how we're responding to the moment is okay. There's always room for feedback and change, of course, accountability and support. And in this, may we also discern when it's just an opinion from others or there's a comparison present. May we know when we need to give ourselves permission. We can't always receive that from others, unfortunately, or wait for the approval of others. And may we notice when we are waiting for that, seeing if we can reframe or find it within ourselves or in perhaps a more neutral guide like a plant or spirit ally that we trust. Knowing that this card is a reminder that, of course, we are not letting go of community and our connections to one another, which is what this card represents, but we're letting go of the hyper-awareness of being dependent on others. We're here for interdependence, not codependence. And so what you might practice in this letting go and untangling is, as you are in communication and connection with others, seeing if you can still stay connected to what your body is sensing and feeling, seeing if you can embody your values, and still listening, of course, still connecting, but holding your authenticity at the same time. You can practice this in little ways on your own too, by letting the other be, for example, a tree or a pet, and working your way up to practice this when you're with others, other humans. And for this season, our focus, what we are remediating or invited to give more energy to, is the 9 of Swords, the abundance of awareness. And this card is known for being one where we are perhaps struggling mentally or experiencing restlessness. Yet here it reflects an acknowledgement of all that's present, the abundance and perhaps overwhelm of thoughts, ideas, information, input, and so on. And so we are invited to focus and remediate around how we are responding and reacting to that. And this abundance can also represent our interpretation of feelings, of thoughts. For example, grief, which feels present in this reading with the colors and shapes and just what's happening in our world being reflected here. And so may we reframe grief as from being a problem or an impediment, something getting in the way, into something that we can connect around and through, and something that is a part of life right now. And as we reframe and acknowledge and hold space for these things, might we also reframe or release the scarcity mindset around having enough time or energy or resources, all these things which are very valid. Perhaps instead of releasing, we are facing or relating to these valid fears and thoughts, because this card is about the abundance of awareness. And it's not an exaggeration to say that there is an abundance of awareness, even in a world of distraction and our attention being bought and sold. But it's a reminder that we get to reclaim it, we get to hone it, and that our mental power is very real. And we can feel the feelings around when we don't feel like we have a hold on that fully. There's a liminality here as well in all these swords cards and all the awarenesses here. And a being with what's here, a being with the unseen, unknown, uncertain. May we let how we communicate with ourselves and others be honest about that within your own comfort level. And I feel like this might be an invitation into whatever sort of form of prayer or intention setting feels helpful for you, a gratitude practice, or however you request support from spirit, the divine source, energy of the earth, and practice that communication in those moments where abundance feels distance, scarcity feels suffocating, and it feels hard to reframe or relate objectively to all the information, all the perspectives. And last but not least, our final card here is inviting us into how or what we can remember these teachings, these invitations of awareness throughout spring. How can we stay connected to this awareness, these invitations for this season, when we inevitably forget to pause to stay connected to our discernment and mental power, is the element of transformation, the Ace of Wands. This is our authentic inner vision, our emergent expression, our foundations of creative outlets and inspiration. And ultimately, what this card invites us into is following that spark, following the inner flame of what we feel connected to, what calls us, what inspires us, and perhaps whatever creative path helps us to express that, helps us to feel that inspirited nature within us. Whether it's picking out your accessories and doing your makeup, or drawing and doodling, dancing or gardening, whatever it is for you, letting that form be your muse, your guide, your anchor in these times. Letting it be where you come to pause and make decisions, or hold space around an unknown, a tough time, or a tricky situation. May this be your refuge during spring and beyond. May these cards be anchors which you can return to in your own deck. And may you continue to follow what's true to you. May you listen deeply to your spirit, your senses, yourself, knowing that you are an inseparable part of Earth and all beings. And so listening to yourself and honoring your needs is never selfish. It only leads you to be able to connect wider and more authentically to the whole. If you'd like deeper guidance and practices to go with these cards, you can of course find it in the Embodied Ecosystems Guidebook, as well as the Embodied Tarot Practice Library, which has recorded guided practices and meditations for each of these cards and all the rest. I have a limited number of embodied tarot readings available each month, and so feel free to check out the recorded and live options at cyclicalroots.com/readings. Thank you for being here and listening to this guidance and yourself and all you're connected to. May you take time to integrate, and may it reach you well as you need it. Feel free to share this with someone else who could benefit from it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, what your outlets are to keep your creative spirit and spark alive during these transitional times, and how this resonated with you in general in the comments below. Thanks again for being here. I'll talk to you later. Bye.